think the next 3 to 5 years, I think that this could be, a much bigger company, 4x the size of what it is.
Their sales grew just 2% quarter over quarter, bottom line. So you're looking at a company, a high growth company that's barely growing, that's losing more money doing so.
네, 안녕하세요 여러분, 메이저쉬프트입니다. 자, 이번 영상에서는 테슬라의 1분기 인도량에 대한 진먼스터와 고든존슨의 의견을 들어보겠습니다. 진먼스터는 테슬라 주가를 아크 인베스트와 비슷하게 5년 안에 3,000불 정도를 예상하고 있고요. 고든존슨은 여전히 67불을 고수하고 있는데요. 아이러니하게 고든존슨만이 다른 애널리스트들보다 굉장히 높은 예상치로 인도량을 근접하게 맞췄습니다. 고든존슨의 재평가가 필요하지 않나 생각하고요. 테슬라 배열을 가장한 고도의 불이 아닐까 의심이 됩니다. 이쯤 되면 확실한 건 저렇게 높게 예상을 한 걸 보면 고든존슨이 숏을 치고 있다고 보이진 않고요. 아마 테슬라에 대해 부정적인 리서치를 발표하면 집중되는 이목에 쾌감을 느끼거나 아니면 수익을 좀 얻지 않나 생각이 듭니다.
Ventures founder and managing partner, and Goden존슨, CEO and founder at GLJ Research. Good morning to you both. Gene, I'll start with you. What did you think of the delivery numbers, and how does it now propel Tesla in this new year?
So Morgan, I know that the Tesla story is emotional, so I'm going to try to just stick right down the middle here, is that this is defining a growth story. A growth story is when you have accelerating growth rates, accelerating beats. The beat on this quarter was 11% better than what analysts had been expecting. And keep in mind, they delivered they produced zero S and X's that typically is about 15 to 20,000. If you'd factor in that, they would have beat by 20%. That compares to the December quarter where they exceeded by 5%. So when you just think about accelerating tech growth, this is definitional. And the reason why I start there is these stories are rare to find. And usually the reason why these happen is that something bigger is going on. And I think that is exactly what Tesla is tapping into. What we're seeing in the March quarter, I think, is just the beginning of multiple years. Just to finish the thought is that there is this number also faced what is an anticipated tax credit for Teslas. Recall a year ago that Tesla's tax credit sunset. And so any, I think, rational Tesla buyer in the U.S. at least would have been holding off, and still they had these numbers.
Yeah, Gordon, I want to get your response not only to the delivery numbers, but to what Gene just said about defining a growth story. I have a feeling you're a little more skeptical about it.
Yeah, we think the fourth quarter, the year-over-year growth is irrelevant. Look, we think the fourth quarter is what matters.
고든의 마이크 음질 상태에 대해서는 제가 대신 사과를 드리겠습니다. 원래는 이렇게 아마추어 같은 분은 아니십니다. YOY, 인도량의 의미가 없다고 하셨지만 비주얼적인 아이디어를 보여드리기 위해서 차트 한번 보여드리겠습니다. 작년 1분기에 비해 109%나 올랐는데요. 2배가 넘게 올랐으니 엄청나죠. 이거 항상 보면 1분기는 그전 4분기에 비해 인도량이 항상 눈에 띄게 약했는데 이번 1분기는 작년 4분기보다 오히려 높네요.
What happened in the fourth quarter of last year is Tesla effectively had fully passed through the massive price cuts in China, and its Shanghai facility was fully ramped. When you also consider that they've effectively picked the low-hanging fruit of entering the world's largest three auto markets, US, China, Europe, and their sales grew just 2% quarter over quarter, despite 15 price cuts in the first quarter of this year.
저번 영상에서도 말씀드렸지만 15번의 가격 인하는 한 지역에서 한 모델에 15번 있었던 게 아니고 다양한 모델이 다양한 지역에서 가격 인하를 한 걸 다 통틀어서 얘기하는 겁니다. 5개의 지역에 모델 3, Y 그리고 X가 가격 인하를 했으면 15번인 거죠. 역시 고든지니어스주니어님, 무에서 유를 창조하는 획기적인 언변 굉장히 좋습니다. 참고로 테슬라가 가격 인하를 했다는 뜻은 생산량이 더 늘었으며 그만큼 생산 단가를 더 줄였다는 뜻이겠죠.
Price cuts over last year, and 52,500 more cars of capacity sold. They didn't have any chip problem. They produced more cars in this quarter than they did last quarter, and they grew just 2%. Instead, as a big problem. One other thing, keep in mind, they sold significantly less higher margin model S and X cars in the quarter and significantly more lower margin Model 3 and Y cars in the quarter, which we calculate is going to be roughly a $300 to $500 million hit to their bottom line. So you're looking at a company, a high growth company that's barely growing, that's losing more money doing so is going to see all of its credit sales disappear next year. Look, these guys are valued at $700 billion. They sold 184,000 cars. VW sells about 2.5 million cars a quarter. They're valued at 162 billion. And Tesla grew sales just 2% sequentially. You don't know what people are talking about when they say this is transformational growth. 2% is not transformational when you cut your prices 15 times. You have 52,000 more cars of capacity.
Yeah, Gene, I mean, just to dig into that a little bit more, you do have that sunsetting of tax credits, at least for now. We'll see what this proposed infrastructure plan actually meant. The production numbers, do you expect those to ramp up? And when you do look at other emerging competitors like GM, are they going to cut into market share?
Morgan, if it's okay, I'd like to talk about the 2% comment.
Okay.
Can we back up one step there? It's true, it grew 2%. My challenge with that logic is that it's a seasonally light quarter. Typically, auto sales in first quarter are down from December, so I think that is a clearly positive. And then I want to jump to the substance of your question around competition. Is that this is ultimately the biggest risk to Tesla, is that the traditional cast of characters, traditional OEMs get their act together. We talked about the electric Hummer. I'm a little bit skeptical that that's going to get any sort of mainstream traction, but that is the risk, and you will see Tesla's market share decline. It's 80% in the U.S. It's a much lower. They're losing share in Europe. I think that will reverse when they get the new factory there, but that is the question. I would just point to this piece around competition as investors contemplate the impact of competition. Tesla started out as a high-end brand, a wealthy person's brand, and they are successfully navigating that brand globally to an everyday person's EV brand. And the reason is that the value of the car exceeds the competition. If they can maintain that edge, I think that competition will, yes, they'll lose share, but they'll continue to have a measurable piece of a massive addressable market.
All right, so very quickly, Gene, stock's trading around 708 this morning. Where does it go from here?
I think the next 3 to 5 years, I think that this could be, a much bigger company, 4x the size of what it is. It's impossible to predict Tesla in the near term. Long term, I think this goes higher.
700불에 4배면 2,800불인데 물론 제 개인적인 목표 주가보다는 낮지만 아크인베스트 다음으로 미디어에서 저렇게 불리시한 예상을 내놓는 분석가는 처음인 것 같습니다. 2021년이 지나가기 전에 저 아크와 진을 따라서 더 많은 애널리스트들의 목표 주가 상향이 있지 않을까 생각을 해봅니다. 여기까지 버티시고 시청해주신 분들 진심 감사드리고요. 좋은 하루 되시길 바라겠습니다. 감사합니다.